Well, in the case of language, you'll sometimes have catastrophes that language is disappearing or that new languages are forming because of populations coming together, like in Creole languages. But in general, in language, there's a very slow, not so slow, but there is a continuous adaptation in order to deal with gaps that occur in the language. So new words appear, new sounds appear, new concepts appear. And so it's a kind of gradual evolutionary process, generally. Well, it's quite clear that language is an emergent phenomenon. There is no global control, there is no prior design, there's nobody that can influence directly the language that's being used by others. So the language as a coherent set of words and grammatical constructions and possible meanings is something that is always emergent from the individual activities of each of the speaking agents, let's say. Well, it is quite clear that language is not a static system. I mean, it's sometimes treated that way, but actually, I strongly believe that every time we speak, that the language is changing. Our individual language is changing, and also the language of the one who interprets is changing because we must all the time be able to deal with new situations and slightly different uses of a word, slightly different use of constructions. So there's this all the time change, and this individual changes add up to the emergence of a shared common language. But I think dynamics is really at the heart of human language, and this is in fact the big change and the big breakthrough, I would say, with earlier studies like in Chomsky linguistics, where language was considered to be static. Well, again, the individual languages, if you look in detail, that each person actually has their own language, which in some ways is very different from that of others. And the reason is that each of us has a different history of interactions with the world, with the environment. We all have different concerns that are the source of meanings in our interactions with others. We are in a particular spatial location where different languages are being spoken. So if you study language, you see actually that it's incredibly heterogeneous, even though it looks like it is coherent, but actually um, the heterogeneity is very important. And as a consequence, language is always changing because new influences are coming, or subpopulations are becoming more important, or new situations are arising. So language is really a living system that's continuously evolving, due to this heterogeneity. Well, the order in language community is the amount of sharing that takes place. And the sharing is then directly impacting communicative success. So the more conventions are shared and the more the meanings are shared, the more the participants in the dialogue will have success even if they haven't spoken before. Now, on the other hand, we have this disorder because everybody has their own idiolect and their own history and so on. And so there's always a kind of balance between order on the one hand, this sharing of conventions, and the disorder, which is the different uses of words and different patterns of interaction, different meanings given to lexical items. But there are strong forces within language, distributed forces, a little bit like in a magnet that pulls it all in the same direction, or an ant society in which
the ants form a path in a distributed, self-organizing way. So in the same way in language, you have these kinds of forces that pull the community together towards a common, that means towards an ordered system.